Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into what is honestly one of the absolute highest stakes challenges in modern energy. As our grid rapidly shifts toward cleaner but intermittent power, a massive competition is shaping up between two heavyweight methods of energy retention, batteries versus hydrogen.
But to really understand why this matters, we have to look at a massive, glaring gap in our current infrastructure. Namely, what happens when the wind just stops blowing? We're rapidly expanding solar and wind capacity all over the globe, which is great. But balancing that inherent intermittency at a grid-wide scale, that remains a massive, unavoidable hurdle for us.
So the crucial point here is that because our base load generation is no longer constant, ensuring a totally reliable supply, the kind that keeps our hospitals and industries running 24/7, requires a robust intermediary. We desperately need a way to bank massive terawatts of energy when generation is high, and then deploy it smoothly when it inevitably dips. Energy storage is literally the critical missing piece of the puzzle.
Contender 1. Battery storage.
Batteries are our fast, highly agile competitors. They're already powering our daily lives. Basically, they operate by storing energy directly in an electrical form through electrochemical reactions, exactly like the lithium-ion tech sitting in your pocket right now. When the grid has excess electricity, it feeds straight into the battery, which can then rapidly discharge at the exact moment demand spikes.
It's a beautifully simple three-step process. First, the renewable source generates electricity. Second, that power flows straight into the battery. And third, it's supplied directly to the load. Because the energy remains electrical the entire time, this straightforward dance is exactly what gives batteries their lightning-fast response times.
Empowering that rapid response is a highly mature set of components. We're talking battery modules, management systems to keep them healthy, power converters to ensure the current is actually usable, and control systems to dictate the flow. Because we've been refining these parts for years, they are highly established, incredibly popular, and amazingly efficient.
Contender 2. Hydrogen storage. Now, let's slow down a second, because what if you need to store power not just for a few hours, but for weeks or even entire seasons? Hydrogen storage follows a completely different, fascinating principle to hit that massive scale. Instead of storing electricity directly, it uses a process called electrolysis to convert excess power into hydrogen gas. That physical gas is safely stored and then later converted back into electricity using a fuel cell.
Now, what's really interesting about this process is how the complexity instantly jumps up. We've gone from 3 steps to 5. We start with renewable power, sure, but then we have to push it through an electrolyzer. Next, we safely store the resulting gas in a dedicated tank. And finally, when we actually need the power, we run that gas through a fuel cell just to get our electricity back onto the grid. Because of all these extra physical transformations, the hardware required is vastly different. You need the electrolyzer to create the gas, specialized storage units that can actually handle hydrogen, fuel cells to reverse the process, and a dedicated energy management controller. It's definitely more complex, but this unique setup gives hydrogen the almost magical ability to store energy for incredibly long periods of time and at exceptionally large scales.
The head-to-head matchup. Let's see how they compare.
Okay, let's dive into this and see how they actually stack up against each other. Round 1 is energy conversion efficiency. The round-trip efficiency for battery storage is an incredibly impressive 80 to 95%. So what does that mean? It means if you generate 100 units of electrical energy and put it into a battery, you are going to get almost all of it back when you need it. In stark contrast, the round-trip efficiency for hydrogen sits at just 25 to 45%. Yeah. If you put 100 units of energy in, you're literally losing more than half of it by the time you get it back out. Naturally, you're probably wondering why on earth such a massive, glaring gap exists. Well, the answer comes down to physical transformations. Batteries win on pure efficiency because the energy never changes its electrical form. Hydrogen, however, pays a heavy energy toll at every single step. You lose energy during the electrolysis process to make the gas, you lose more energy compressing and storing it, and you lose even more converting it back inside the fuel cell. So when it comes to pure efficiency, batteries absolutely take the undisputed crown. But hold on, efficiency isn't the only metric that matters here. Looking at duration, batteries are perfect for short-term, daily peak management. But hydrogen, it completely dominates for long-duration seasonal storage. Hydrogen also holds a vastly higher energy capacity per unit of mass. That being said, battery infrastructure is currently much simpler, highly mature, and way cheaper to install compared to hydrogen's complex and specialized infrastructure needs.
And this brilliantly illustrates how those specific technological traits completely define their real-world applications. You'll find batteries in residential solar systems, in your electric vehicle, and balancing out daily microgrids. They are absolutely perfect for fast, daily load management. Hydrogen, conversely, is deployed for massive industrial energy storage, large-scale multi-energy systems, and acting as the ultimate seasonal backup for when winter rolls in and solar production drops for months at a time.
The ultimate energy alliance. So, who actually wins this duel? Well, the plot twist researchers are increasingly realizing is that this was never actually a zero-sum duel to begin with. In a real-world, solar-powered community, they form the ultimate alliance. During the daytime, solar panels produce massive amounts of excess electricity. As evening hits, batteries instantly kick in to smoothly supply that stored power to your home. But when winter arrives, and batteries simply can't bridge a months-long gap in sunlight, hydrogen steps up to supply the massive, deep seasonal backup needed to keep the community running. They beautifully hand off duties to cover each other's blind spots over time. By combining both into a hybrid approach, we really get the best of both worlds. Batteries expertly manage the fast, short-term fluctuations of the grid with extremely high efficiency. Meanwhile, hydrogen steps back to quietly and reliably manage our massive, long-term energy requirements. Viewing them as complementary tools rather than fierce competitors is the absolute key to integrating renewable energy into a fully resilient grid. Which brings us to a perfect closing thought. Batteries power the present of energy storage, while hydrogen has the potential to secure its future. It's a great reminder that solving our energy challenges and building a resilient grid requires utilizing every single tool exactly where it shines brightest. But the ultimate question still remains. Can we scale and build this complex hydrogen infrastructure fast enough to actually realize this alliance before grid demands completely outpace our current battery limits? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.